My name is Jennifer Kurtanis, Director of Health for the Farmington Valley Health District, and your host for this segment of Health Matters, a public health education show produced by the Farmington Valley Health District. Today, we're going to talk about food share and food insecurity within the Farmington Valley. There is no question that food is essential for good health. Unfortunately, for some, access to nutritious and affordable food on a regular basis can be a struggle. Today, we are very pleased to have Sarah Hill with us. She's the community network builder for Food Share to help us better understand what Food Share is and what they are doing to help address food insecurity within the Farmington Valley. So welcome, Sarah. Thank you so much for being here today. This is a really important topic for us. Can you start by telling us a little bit about what Food Share is?
Absolutely, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Food Share, we're the food bank for Hartford and Talon County, and we are a lifeline to many food insecure households. Last year, we served 11 million meals throughout our service area.
Wow, that's really impressive. So 12 or 11 million meals, how is it that any one organization does that?
Yeah, so we have our Food Share partner agencies. So they're pantries, community kitchens, shelters, youth programs, senior programs, it's a variety. And then we also partner with the food industry. So we get the food directly to us, and it's not done by collecting food at food drives or things like that. So it saves on the time, decreases waste, and it gets right into the people that need it the most.
Wonderful. So there's a lot of follow-up questions I have in that. So for the community-based partners that you have, how do they become a partner with Food Share?
Yeah, so they apply on our website. They have to be a 501c3. They cannot discriminate. They just have to be open at least once a month and within Hartford and Talon County. And we have quite a few in the Farmington Valley. We have Gifts of Love in Avon, Waste Not, Want Not Community Kitchen in Granby, along with Hope for Life, Canton Food Bank, Farmington Food Pantry, many.
So they're 501c3 not-for-profits that have providing either meals and or food as part of their mission or goal.
Yes.
And you described some of those organizations I know. Some host community meals. Then you talked about a more traditional like food pantry where someone might come and actually take food from a shelf to bring home. Are those the major types of partners that you have, community-based partners?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And then, you mentioned that obviously Food Share gets their food from a variety of places, but you mentioned that the industry is a big part of your partnership, and the reduction of waste, food waste, is important. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that works?
Absolutely. So we partner with the big box stores, and they are routed right to Food Share, or they are picked up from grocery stores and brought directly to our partner agencies through our retail rescue program. It basically cuts out a middle person. It saves all the food that isn't sellable but still very edible, and gets it right to the people in need. So we partner with the food donors, volunteers, and community leaders.
So what types of products are these establishments, the big box stores and supermarkets and things, donating to Food Share?
Everything, whether it be they're changing a logo and they need to get all of those items off the shelf, we'll take them. Fresh produce, things that may not look the nicest but still completely edible. We get a ridiculous amount of fresh produce in every day.
Wonderful. And I'm really glad to hear that, because I think, historically I've heard stories of people that, have felt that they haven't been able necessarily to access fresh, wholesome fruits and vegetables, but that is really kind of a staple of most of the food pantries now, correct?
Yes.
Excellent, very good. Do you also accept donations from the general public?
Absolutely. We don't always recommend it though, because at Food Share, the food is 17 cents a pound at the most expensive. So you go and you buy a can of soup for $3. You can get so much more food if you were to give us that $3 rather than the one can of soup.
So the best way for the general public to support the work that you're doing is through monetary donation.
Absolutely. And not just to us, to our pantries as well, because they purchase it through Food Share.
Yeah, wonderful. So there are fixed locations where people can pick up food, but you also have, so can you tell me a little bit about the fixed locations? And then there's also mobile food share trucks that I've seen. So let's start with the fixed locations.
Yeah, so we have our headquarters in Bloomfield, Connecticut, where we sort all of the produce, meat, and non-perishable items. We also have the Hartford Regional Market where we sort the produce. And then we have our fixed partner agencies, which are just scattered throughout Hartford and Talon County. But my favorite and our largest program is the mobile food share program. So it is a pantry on wheels. It serves to 68 sites, typically every other week, no identification needed, and it's across suburbs, cities, and rural towns. And every month there is 1,500 people in line waiting. Yeah. So this is a critical need, and out of the millions of pounds that we did last year, 63% of it was just fresh produce. So that's carrots, onions, potatoes, like good staple items.
That's wonderful. So I think that one of the things, and certainly the Food Share website, www.foodshare.org, right, can provide individuals with information about the locations and timing of all of your partner organizations where they can access resources, correct?
Correct.
You mentioned that when people come to the mobile food share sites, that it's completely anonymous. What, if anything, does an individual or a family have to do to take advantage of some of these resources? Is it as simple as showing up?
Yes, great question. In many of the cases, it's as simple as showing up, bringing your own bags, and just getting in line. And a lot of people ask us, like, oh, how do you know those people are food insecure? If you're waiting in line for a food truck, and that takes a lot of courage to do that, we're not going to question you. If you need food, you deserve to get food.
Yeah, I think that that's really an absolutely wonderful philosophy and policy of Food Share, because as you and I know, there's often a lot of negative stigma associated with, just in general, people that need to help and ask for services or assistance, and certainly nothing more stigmatizing really than to have to ask for help with respect to something so fundamental as, food and nutrition, which is so essential to healthy life. So it's really wonderful that Food Share is working to kind of break down that stigma and really encourage anyone that needs that assistance to just take advantage of the resources. With that said, I think that there are probably some assumptions and false assumptions about the Farmington Valley in general, and the extent to which people may be experiencing food insecurity. Can you tell us a little bit about what we know about food insecurity in the Farmington Valley?
Yeah, so Food Share service area is Hartford and Talon County. So if we start big with the numbers from Feeding America, 121,000 people are currently food insecure, and that's 1 in 8 people and 1 in 8 children in our service area.
In Talland and Hartford County alone.
Yes, and we just got a new report back from Feeding America that Connecticut has one of the highest food insecurity rates in the nation and in New England for the older adults ages 50 to 59. And that's what we're seeing at our mobiles. It's not the greatest thing to be proud of, but I think that is just such an interesting fact.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So are there other populations that are at greater risk of food insecurity by age group or?
Yeah, so in our experience, food insecurity doesn't discriminate, whether your gender, race, religion, or age, geographically. It's really everywhere. And what I really like is United Way just did an ALICE report, which is asset limited, income constrained, and employed. So these are people that are above the poverty level, but below the survival budget. So they still struggle with food, transportation, housing, healthcare, the technology, the list goes on. So in Farmington Valley, it's interesting because, you know, it's a very affluent area. It ranges in this area from 17 to 31% of households struggle with these basic needs. And poverty is always a hidden struggle. You don't know what's happening behind closed doors.
Yeah, and I think people would be really surprised by the 17 to 31%, but as you point out, you know, and it's a little bit more subtle, right? Because these are families where they are employed, but they just might not be making enough money, or, you know, they are struggling with other aspects. If you have to make a choice between putting gasoline in your car to get to a job that provides you with the whatever resources to sustain your household, but maybe that, you know, picks away at the budget that you have available for food and to, you know, put food on the table. So it's really quite interesting and, you know, discouraging, I think, that we have upwards of 31% of households that can be experiencing this instability. And I remember reviewing that report and realizing that the trend is not moving in a good direction. The trend is actually moving in a direction where we're seeing those rates go up and up. So it's an important report that speaks to sort of, you know, some of the underlying issues that are happening that might be a little less visible to people. So given that food insecurity is growing within our communities and people's circumstances can change, what other resources might be available for someone to take advantage of the resources provided by FoodShare? You said there's no application, et cetera. What are some of we mentioned the www.foodshare.org as the place where they can go to learn as much as they want in the privacy of their own home. Can you think of anything else, other resources they might look to?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I would recommend 211. So you can access that just by dialing 211 or going online to www.211ct.org. And they are the database. It's put on by the United Way, and it's not just food, it's housing, it's transportation depending on your town, senior services, mobile crisis, mental health services, addiction services. All of it is in one easy-to-use location.
Yeah, and I think that that's important because food insecurity oftentimes doesn't happen in isolation. And even if you think about food insecurity as one aspect, you can imagine the impact of that on mental health, just the stress of, you know, a parent or, you know, an individual not knowing where you're going to get healthy food, the stress that's going to place on you. So 211, excellent resource for all sorts of situations that might coincide with food insecurity. So that's great. I know the Farmington Valley Health District's been very pleased to be part of something called the Hunger Action Team for the Farmington Valley. Can you describe a little bit about what that is and what we hope to accomplish through that collaborative process?
Yeah, so Hunger Action Teams, or HATS for short, is a community group based of, you know, faith-based organizations, the business community, nonprofits, school officials, and concerned citizens. We get together and we ask, why is there hunger in our community and what can we do about it? So I'm very pleased to be on the Farmington Valley HAT. I think they're doing a wonderful job. They have identified 3 main themes that they want to focus on. So number 1, there's lack of awareness that there's hunger and
Right.
that there's even resources in the Farmington Valley. You know, we live in this bubble and we don't think anything outside the bubble. Secondly is the connection between health and hunger. So if you're eating things high in sugar and sodium and saturated fat, it's going to decrease your health in the long run.
Right.
And then just working to make the health of the community, improve the health of the community. So those are our three aspects. Our first project, which we just completed, is our Farmington Valley Food Resource Guide, which has all of our different towns, and it lists all of the food resources by town, including the eligibility and if they have fresh produce, which I love, along with the mobile food share schedule on the back.
Wonderful.
So you can access them.
Yeah, well, kudos to you, because I know that this is something that, as much as the HAT group provided you with the input, you really were the worker bee behind the scenes. So this is wonderful.
Thank you.
And where will certainly I'd like some of these for our office, but where will people be able to access this resource?
Yes, so this is very new. We're hoping to get it out everywhere. All the community centers, faith-based organizations, social services, and we're hoping to move into doctors' offices as well.
Excellent.
Which will be very helpful.
One of the things that I think is wonderful about the Hunger Action Team is it really, as you describe, is made up of a very diverse group of people. We have nutritionists, we have community organizers, we do have the faith-based organizations, and so when you bring the broadest perspective to the table around common goals, I think we have the greatest potential to, accomplish the goals that we've set out. And, one of them, as you point out, is really to kind of destigmatize, peel back this whole issue of food insecurity, make it accessible, let people understand there is no shame in this. Any one of us could be an illness, major life event, the loss of employment away from some sort of insecurity, and it could be a very temporary thing, but these resources are available to people. So you talked about the types of projects that the Hunger Action Team is working on. You also mentioned that individuals and organizations that are passionate about this issue can become part of the Farmington Valley HAT. So where would they get more information if they were interested in learning more just about that work?
Yeah, you can visit our website, www.foodshare.org, and it would be under programs and then Hunger Action Teams. And you can also always give me a call. I'm happy to put my phone number out there on the air if that's appropriate, 860-856-4347. I'm there Monday through Friday, and I'm always happy to talk to anyone that wants to do anything to decrease food insecurity.
Great. And certainly just if people have ideas or suggestions for a need that they see or something that might address this issue within our communities, you'd welcome that as well.
Absolutely. Yes.
Great. So we talked about the food donations, but are there other ways that volunteers, just citizens, can volunteer for Food Share?
Oh, absolutely. We love volunteers, and we run primarily off of volunteers.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
You don't serve 11 million meals in an area without some type of human support. So
Absolutely.
What are the types of things that people can volunteer for? And again, I imagine that's through the website as well. But what kinds of things can people volunteer for?
Yeah, so you can come into Bloomfield or in our Hartford location, and there's food sorting with the fresh produce, meat, or non-perishable items. You can also do retail rescue, which is really fun, and you get trained to go in the back of grocery stores to take the food that's no longer being sold and bring it directly to a pantry, shelter, or community kitchen. The first time I did it, we saved 200 pounds, and I was blown away because that would have been in a dumpster if we weren't there.
Wow.
It blew my mind. So that's a lot of fun. And then there is ambassador training, so you can go to speaking events, table. You can do Hunger 101, which is a role-playing interactive game where you take a group of people and walk through the lives of being food insecure, and you have to feed your family for a whole day. It's fun.
Neat. And I know one of the things that our nutritionist does is she does food demos at some of the food pantries. So she's working with those recipients of food share products in trying to figure out how you make, the most of that, how you really cook more nutritious meals. Some people may not be, if they had their own resources, might not purchase the beans or know how to use some of the products that are available. And I think that's another way that people could volunteer as well.
Absolutely.
Just doing some of that education, sharing recipes, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. So what do you see as FoodShare's biggest challenge as food insecurity continues to grow? We're also entering the summer months, so kids that may qualify for free lunch programs at schools are home. Tell me a little bit about some of those challenges for FoodShare.
Yeah, so kids during the school year can get breakfast, lunch, and even dinner sometimes at school. So when they're out, it's really all on the parents to provide that food, whether they're working or at home. So the USDA has the free summer meals program, but we know 3 out of 4 kids that are on free and reduced lunch aren't attending. But this is a free program that's out through, I don't believe there's any in the Farmington Valley. The closest would probably be New Britain or Hartford. But they're absolutely free, no questions asked. Any child under the age of 18 can go and get a free meal. It's usually breakfast or lunch.
Okay, so that's, you have to actually go to the physical location to have the meal? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So the summer meals program, again, when you say 3 out of 4 students that are taking advantage of food programs during the school year are not part of that, those parents should also be made or should know and take advantage of food share services during the summer so that they have the food that they need to, right? Are there any other challenges that you have during the summer months besides youth that might get their food provided through a school?
Yeah, predominantly in the summer, it's the lowest time to get donations because it's not near a holiday. People are enjoying their time, so they're really just, how do we get more food into the pantries? Donations tend to be down, so.
Yeah, and I would imagine volunteerism might be down during the summer as well.
Yes.
So if you have some free time and are looking for a wonderful way to support your community in an area that is of particular need, again, FoodShare is always looking for volunteers, and you can volunteer for as much or as little as you're able to, but any little bit helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about FoodShare or food insecurity before we wrap up this segment?
That it affects everyone, and we should decrease the stigma that it's only happening outside of our town. It really is everywhere, and we need to be aware of that.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here. This has really been incredibly informative. Food insecurity can be experienced by anyone or any family, and it is becoming much more prevalent within our towns. No one should have to decide between food or nutrition and medicines or housing or transportation. There's no shame, and there are resources available for those who need them. If you or someone you know can benefit for resources like FoodShare, please reach out and share the information from this program with them. Again, information can be gleaned from calling 211 or from visiting www.foodshare.org. Until next time, remember, your health is your greatest wealth.